Carpetbagger here, coming to you live from that long, lonesome road. I have started my journey back east. It took me 2.5 weeks to drive Route 66 from Chicago to Santa Monica. And I dawdled a bit. I did a lot of stops, did a few side treks. I did a few days in St. Louis for the Trans World Convention. But overall, it took about 2.5 weeks. I kind of ran out of time a little bit. I wanted to spend a little more time in California, but I did need to make it back for ghost hunt weekends, April 8th and 9th. So I'm rushing back east. My plan is to try to make it to the Amarillo, Texas area tonight. I drove quite a bit yesterday, and currently I just entered New Mexico right now. So yeah, if everything goes to plan, I'll have gotten to the half point of Route 66 in reverse in 2 days. It took me much longer. When you're on Route 66, when you're making the stops, when you're seeing everything, when you're stopping to video, it takes a lot longer. So yeah, my plan is to just keep on trucking, maybe do a few stops and get back to Red Boiling Springs, Tennessee, which is about an hour and a half outside of Nashville, by the 8th of this month. And yeah, currently my situation after that, I don't know exactly. I'm doing a little bit of traveling on the East Coast. So I'm kind of in an interesting situation with my pending divorce. I don't necessarily have a stable residence. My mailing address, I'm a resident of North Carolina. I have a bedroom at my house in North Carolina that I can stay at. But because of what's been going on with my personal life, with the separation, made the decision to just trying to travel as much as possible. And then I started a new relationship with my girlfriend Jen, who lives in New York. And I've not got to spend as much time with her as I'd like because I've been traveling so much. So trying to find a little bit of balance in my life, trying to figure out, where do I live? Do I have a home? And just kind of traveling and videoing all the while. I'll figure it out. At some point I'll figure it out, but right now we're just gonna film and show stuff. So yeah, today doing a lot of driving. So I figured I would answer some of your questions. So I put on social media the other day to give me your questions about my travels, about me, and I would do my best to answer some of the more common questions. One that came up a lot was, when do I plan to visit all 50 states? I visited 48 states. I've not visited Hawaii or Alaska. People asked why I haven't, what's the holdup? The main holdup is when they made those states, they put them really far away. I've been dipping my toe into trying to figure out, because it's a lot of planning. You know, obviously you gotta take a plane. I think you can technically drive to Alaska, but I don't know how difficult that is. I don't know how good the roads are. I don't know how that all comes together. So I'm kind of looking at travel options. Alaska, the hotel rooms are very expensive. That kind of scared me. I couldn't really find anything that was less than like $250 a night, which is over my budget. So I don't know. I may do it anyways because I really do. I kind of have a mind where I like to set goals and knock them out. Like I had the goal I wanted to visit every Ripley's Believe It or Not. I knocked out that goal. I wanted to visit every wax museum. I've almost knocked out that goal. I wanted to ride every dark ride that is permanently installed in America. I'm working on that one as well. But yeah, so my goal is to visit Hawaii and Alaska, kind of looking for the best plan of action, the best way to make a trip to each of those states and kind of be able to have things that I can film, interesting things that kind of fall into my realm of filming. So yeah, I've been looking at Alaska, and again, I'm wide open to ideas about Alaska and Hawaii. What's the best way to do those trips? If you guys want to leave a comment in the comment section. I do try to keep things cost effective in a way. I don't have unlimited resources to burn, so I want to have a full experience, but kind of, you know, try to save money on hotels and things like that. Another question I get a lot is, do I plan to travel overseas? And I think this kind of ties in with the Hawaii and Alaska question. I always kind of felt like I should visit Hawaii and Alaska before I venture outside of the United States. I feel like I should complete this country and then move on to other states. And the pandemic kind of slowed that down. So now that the pandemic seemingly seems to be winding down, I can start looking at that again. So I'll probably try to do Hawaii and Alaska first, and again, looking on ways to figure that out. And then at some point in the future, once I've done Hawaii and Alaska, I may look at doing other countries. Are you guys interested in seeing me do other countries? I know this channel has pretty much been, you know, Americana, things in America, American culture. So I don't know, are you guys interested in seeing me visit other countries? I don't know. I don't know if that's what people want to see or not. I mean, I'm curious. I'm interested in going to other countries and just experiencing the culture shock that comes along, and with understanding and learning about a new culture as you go there. But yeah, is that something you guys want to see? Another question I've gotten a lot of, and this is a question I've been avoiding trying to answer, but they ask me, what is the worst attraction that you've ever been to? And I've talked about the best attractions. You know, I consider like Meow Wolf, House on the Rock, South of the Border. I consider those, Rock City, kind of the top tier attractions. But what do I consider the worst attraction? Now, I think that smaller attractions, small museums, family-owned attractions, I think they have, I don't consider them as having less value than the bigger attractions. I think they have their own charm, their own special feeling that goes with them. So let me just, I don't want to name what I think is the worst attraction that I've been to, because I don't think it's even fair for me to call something the worst. It would be something that I enjoyed the least. So I'm just going to give you like an outline of what I don't like, if that makes sense. So I love museums. I love stopping at every museum. Most museums, almost every museum has at least one artifact that is amazing, that's cool to see, and I always feel like there's some value to be found in almost every museum. Now, things I don't like about certain museums, I feel like over-reliance on pictures and writing. I don't like. I feel like if I wanted to read and look at pictures the entire time I was at a museum, I would read a book on the subject or do research online about the subject. When I come to a museum, I want something tangible, some artifacts to see, something that you can see with your own eyes that you couldn't see at home. So that's what I like in a museum. I also don't like over-reliance on movies or videos. You know, I'll be honest with you, and I leave a comment if you agree or disagree with me. I don't sit down and watch movies in museums. Sometimes they'll have an intro movie that I'll sit down and watch, but I'm not gonna take 20-30 minutes out of a museum trip to sit and watch a movie. Again, that's something I feel like I could do at home or in my hotel room, is watch a movie about something. When I'm in a museum, I want to see the environment, I want to experience artifacts. So do you guys watch movies while you're in museums? So I'm not going to name the attraction. I'm not going to name the attraction that I consider where I had the least amount of enjoyment, but it was a museum, and the museum did not have a single artifact, and it relied entirely on movies and the docent telling explanations about things. So that might be a great experience for some people. For me, it's just not what I'm looking at when I go to a museum. To me, that's not what a museum or an attraction really is. So I'm gonna look at some of the questions here. It says, do you feel awkward when talking to the camera in public? If so, how did you overcome it? I absolutely felt awkward talking to the camera in public. Sometimes I still do. Usually I'm used to it. What really bothers me is if I'm filming myself and I can just see someone is glaring at me. Someone's like, huh? Like someone obviously confused at what I'm doing or just staring at me. Sometimes people even do it on purpose or wave in the back of your camera to try to distract you. Kind of obnoxious behavior. But yeah, that makes me nervous. That breaks my chain of thought. But for the most part, it just took getting used to. It just took doing it over and over again. You go back and watch the first couple videos on this channel. I'm obviously nervous, obviously afraid to even be on camera. So it just takes to doing something so much that you eventually become comfortable with it. Do I listen to music on the road a lot? What music do I listen to while traveling, or do you prefer audiobooks and podcasts, or silence? I listen to music sometimes. A lot of times I find myself listening to podcasts. Some of the podcasts I listen to are, I love Last Podcast on the Left. It's a little graphic, but some really creepy stuff. Talks about cryptids, UFOs, serial killers, that sort of stuff. There is The Dollop, which is the American History podcast. I'm trying to think here, some of the others. Stuff You Should Know, and then of course there's a whole group of wrestling podcasts that I like. I love the, one of my favorite wrestling podcasts is the Solomonster Sounds Off. Here's a good question. Ever thought of adding a rating to your stops? Like attraction gets 5 stars or something like that? No. And the reason is, there's certain things I don't talk about very often with attractions. I don't rate attractions. I maybe have rated attractions. I think I made a list video of my favorite attractions. But for the most part, I don't consider this channel to be a review channel. I'm not really reviewing attractions. I'm more experiencing them. Going in, seeing what there is to be seen, kind of taking it in, learning new things, not necessarily about determining which one is the best. Sometimes I think in this culture, we're obsessed with ranking things and which is the best. We have the Academy Awards, which is the best movie. You know, how do you even decide what's the best movie? It's all about what you enjoy. And I don't feel like I can tell other people what they enjoy. Another thing I don't talk about is prices usually. I feel like, and that's another thing is, I'm just not doing the reviews, not talking about the minutia like that. Not really, you know, trying to be like a travel guide, is more of just like showing experiences. And I feel like you can watch the videos and you can gain from your own knowledge what those experiences are. And it's pretty easy, you know, if you see something you like, look it up online, see how much the tickets cost. I just choose not to make the ticket price and things like that part of the presentation here. We have, how do you stay alert on your drives? Love watching your road trip videos, but I could never drive that far without getting too tired. The big thing is I just try to make sure I get enough sleep. Try to make sure I have that 8 hours of sleep every night. I'll drive a long time. I could drive 10, 12, 13, 14 hours in a day, which is hard, but you gotta get that sleep. And if I get to the point where I'm feeling sleepy, where I feel like I could fall asleep while driving, immediately pull over and sleep in the car. If you're sleepy enough where you're gonna sleep driving, you can sleep in a parking lot. Someone wanna know the entire story of the hat I wear. Being 100% honest, being 100% open with you, my viewer, one of the reasons I do wear a hat is I have lost a lot of my hair, and you know, a little bit of self-conscious about that is why I chose to start incorporating a hat into my videos. Originally in the early videos I tried using a pith helmet, which is kind of a comical look. I tried to find a new hat. I bought kind of a hat similar to this at a hat store in Tampa that I really liked. Then my cats peed on it. I got this current hat from a viewer, Catch a Kitty, sent me this hat. The pins came from a viewer had sent me Let me see, these 2 pins right here were the first 2. I got them in the mail, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'll stick them on the hat. So originally I just had these 2, and then I started adding them. And then I stopped adding them because my hat literally was getting so heavy that it was giving me headaches. And I had to take some off in the back. That's why the back isn't completely, because there was one point where I had the whole hat full, and it was like putting a box of nails on my head. So it's still a little heavier probably than a hat should be, but yeah. So I will put on new pins every once in a while. Usually it's if one of these pins falls off or is not sticking good, I'll take it off, put it on my cork board at home, and replace it. Question is, do people ever get irritated with you talking and filming on rides? As a viewer, I enjoy the commentary because I probably never get to be there in person. No, I don't believe, I mean, I can't speak for every person I've ever sat next to, but I do speak, and I have filming with the camera. Let's say this is the camera, there's a microphone right here, so I'm speaking directly into that, so it probably appears in the video that I'm being a lot louder than I really am, but I'm probably more just like talking in a slightly elevated voice. And I feel like with most rides, especially thrill rides, I think it's not unusual for people to yell, to talk, to laugh. People get noisy on rides, all kind of rides, dark rides, people talk, and I've never heard of it being an issue. I've never had anyone tell me to shut up. I've never had anyone complain. And I do always try to be courteous, you know, in amusement parks. I realize everyone's there to have fun. Sometimes it gets frustrating waiting in line. There's unruly children everywhere, but I try my best to remain patient, to not interrupt or disturb anyone else's experience while they're in a park or attraction. Comment says I should do the choose my adventure / destination again. I absolutely want to do another round of choose my adventure. I just really have to find a good open time to do it when I have nothing else scheduled, so I can able to run it for a period of time. So stay tuned. I have a strong feeling it will be back. Has YouTube begun to start to feel like work, or is traveling something you still enjoy doing? I'd say both. I like traveling. I love traveling. Traveling is my passion. You know, one time someone said, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. That's not true. You know, it is work. It is work when you're working hard on something to create something. It's work. It's much better to be doing work that you love, but I also feel like when you're really passionate about something, when something is your baby, something is your creation, I feel like you push yourself harder, you make yourself work longer. Which I guess brings me, I don't know, maybe I should have mentioned this earlier. I have only taken off, I think, 2 or 3 days this year. It is, what is it, April something right now. I don't consider the 7 days that I had my tooth, that I was recovered from my tooth surgery, to be time off, because I was in unending agonizing pain the entire time. So I don't consider that time off. But other than that, those 7 days are the only 7 days that I've been at my house this year. And I've taken a few days off to hang out with Jen, or to I think there's one day where I just took off just to take off and recovered. But yeah, I may need to start incorporating more days off, just because I think I may be pushing myself to an unrealistic level. It says, how do you manage to act so carefree in your videos? Well, I wouldn't consider myself necessarily carefree, but my excitement in videos is real. I get excited. It's a bit, people that know me personally actually crack up, because they see me get excited. They see that I get excited for real. For instance, I remembered John from Exploration Unknown always laughing that I jumped out of a moving car. I was so excited when we pulled up. I think we pulled up at East Jesus on Slab City, and he looked over. He was driving the car, and he looked over, and I wasn't in the car anymore. I'd opened the door and hopped out of the moving car because I was so excited to go see the thing. And then I remember, well, recently when I was in Eureka Springs, the bunny cash registers, I remember Boogie telling me about that, and just laughing, seeing my happy face when I came out of there. and he knew that I had seen the bunnies. Someone asked if there's a reason I don't film Ren fairs. No, I love Ren fairs. Actually, I've been meaning to do more. It's just a matter of scheduling, figuring out when Ren fairs are happening. And that's actually kind of an issue with events. When I'm doing this extreme amount of traveling, always on the move, it's very hard to sync up with what events are when. I'd like to do more events, but I find it, now that I'm traveling more, it's actually harder to pin down events. So I gotta figure out a way to manage that. And I would definitely love to do some Ren fairs. Would you consider doing any more videos about independent wrestling? If not in the ring yourself, maybe some backstage stories. I would love to do more content on wrestling, but when I did the wrestling content, there was definitely a split on the channel. Some people really loved it, but those videos consistently ranked very, very low on viewership. A lot of people skipped them. Do you get discounts at some places to stay or eat because you mentioned them in a YouTube video? Not really. Occasionally I will get someone who owns an attraction will invite me out and allow me to come in without paying admission, but I don't ask for free stuff. I just think it's a little distasteful, and I'm not calling out any YouTubers in particular, but I know some YouTubers do try to get into places for free. They're like, oh, I'll film your place and give you exposure and you let me in for free. I don't know, I feel like if you're running a legitimate YouTube channel where you're filming places, I feel like it wouldn't hurt you to pay the admission. You know, paying the admission helps these places stay in business. And like I said, I'll take a free invite, but I'm not going to ask for one. How much research do you put in before visiting an attraction? Because often you come upon things that are closed. I wasn't sure how much randomness it is to film or how much thought goes into things. If you stumble on things in the moment, which places do you enjoy more with planning those or fun surprises? I love surprises. It's really rewarding to stumble upon something you didn't know was there and to get to experience it. That always is really exciting. I do, as far as planning, I do a lot of planning in trying to make sure things are open. Sometimes, as you can see, I still fail. It can be really hard to figure out when something is open. You can look on their website, you can look on their Facebook page, you can call them. I usually try to verify with at least 2 sources on what their hours are, but sometimes you do that and the place will still be closed. They'll have a piece of paper on the door saying, sorry, closed today, especially the smaller independent places. As far as like researching, like what am I gonna see, I don't like to do that too much because I like to be surprised. I like to be able to give you guys my genuine reaction and kind of take you along with me experiencing the attraction for the first time. It's not necessarily about travels, but I want to learn more about you, your education, your interests growing up. Oh boy, where to start? I have an education I have a degree in social work, worked as a social worker in Child Protective Services for 10 years. Growing up, I didn't necessarily find my love of traveling until later in life, but as a kid, I loved animals. I was interested in being an author. I wanted to write, and my life just took an unexpected path. The question, do you miss being a social worker? Question from a social worker. I do not miss being a social worker. I'm proud of the work I did. I worked for 10 years investigating child abuse and child neglect. As I said, I'm proud of the work, but it was soul draining. I dealt with you know, very serious abuse of different types. I've dealt with child fatalities, dealt with just horrifying bits of abuse. I didn't realize how draining it was on me until I actually stopped doing it. And then doing this is just, it's happier. I get to make people happy. Before, invested in child abuse, child neglect, no one liked seeing the CPS investigator coming. So at least here I get to make people happy. And I made children safe, but, and I'm so proud of that work, but I'm so much happier doing the work I do now. It says, when traveling, do you use strictly GPS or maps come in handy? I, believe it or not, and this is shameful for me, given what I do, for me to admit, I have no sense of direction. So I'm pretty much reliant entirely on GPS to get me where I need to be. Do you really get as scared as you do going through haunted attractions? Do you like them, and what was the scariest one you visited? Oh man, as far as the scariest, I don't. There'd be so many to narrow down. I'd have to like sit down and review everyone I've been through to determine the scariest. But yeah, my reactions are genuine. And people that know me personally know this, that I get a lot of anxiety going into haunted houses. And I know I'm not going to be murdered. I know the monsters are not real, but just the darkness, never knowing when something is gonna pop out. It's like having 100 jack-in-the-boxes around you and not knowing which one's gonna go off. So you have all these people jumping at you, scaring you, startling you. I'm a very easily scared person, and absolutely, I am really getting startled and scared when I go through these things. I know that they're not real. I know I'm not gonna get hurt. I do love them. I've got, going through all these haunted houses, I have a fondness for the art of the haunted house. So I do really love these places as well. What makes or breaks a hotel motel for you? This really comes down to one thing, and that's cleanliness. You don't want to be in a hotel where you don't feel clean, you know, where some things are dirty, where people don't care. Yeah, I just want it to be clean. That's the main thing. You just want to know that you're clean and safe is the main thing. You also want a comfortable bed. I mean, the sleep is why you're there, so a comfortable bed is good. Cleanliness is the most important thing. You don't want bugs. You don't want to find something gross in your room. I came into a room once and the toilet was clogged with a giant turd. That was horrible. So I do try to be careful. I do put effort into, I try to save money on hotels, but I do try to check reviews and make sure that they're not disgusting. How do you feel about fans who spot you and swarm? Is it annoying or welcome? I wouldn't say I get swarmed. I don't think I'm popular enough to get swarmed, but people do recognize me, which every time someone recognizes me, it surprises me. But no, I appreciate it. If you see me out in public, please come up and say hi. It's flattering to me. I love meeting people who enjoy my videos. I'm a little awkward in public, so forgive me, but I think that's cool to meet people face to face who actually appreciate my videos. I don't recall you visiting waterfalls, natural wonders. Have you done any? I've done some, but the truth of the matter is that I'm very cautious about filming natural beauty because I feel like a lot of it just does not come through on camera. It's one thing seeing a picture of something, another thing seeing it in person. And also, you know, the focus of the channel is more of unusual things, touristy things, roadside attractions. So a lot of times, you know, the natural beauty just doesn't necessarily fit in. Oh, here's a comment from one Mortimer Blankenship. It says, yeah, you want to have a chop versus chop rematch? I feel like you need a shave. Yes, I would definitely like to take on Mortimer Blankenship in another match. I think this time I got him. Why don't you travel north more often? The reason that is weather. I mean, it's difficult to travel in the weather and the attractions shut down. So unfortunately, you know, there's a large, you know, in the northern states, there's a large number of attractions that are just shut down in the winter that I can't visit. I would brave the snow to go visit them. And yeah, my trip that I did at the beginning of the year, a lot of stuff was closed just because of the time of the year. Turns out, like, right after January, a lot of stuff shuts down. I've learned that. So January's not a good time to travel most places. It may seem that I'm in warmer climates more often, and that's just because they're open year-round and they're more available to me. So, and then of course in the summertime, Memorial Day to Labor Day is when everything is open. So that's when I'm doing the mad scramble. It's when the amusement parks are open. Ever wanted to film somewhere? The owner said no cameras. Absolutely. Some places still do not allow filming or cameras. I don't really understand. I think it's just kind of an old school mentality. I think their thought is that if people see the pictures or video, they won't want to come. What I found in my travels is that when people see pictures and video, they actually want to come more. It's how people find out about attractions a lot of times. I know that people watch my videos and then go themselves to see the places that I visited. So I mean, you know, you had to follow the rules. You gotta, it's their house, you gotta follow their house rules. But I wish places would allow filming and cameras. I think it would be beneficial for everyone. So thank you guys, but I'm gonna head back on the road and start heading east. I think I'll be making a stop or two along the way before I get to Red Boiling Springs to the Thomas house for Ghost Hunt weekends. But appreciate you guys so much for sticking with me. This trip was so exciting, being able to see your reactions day to day as I traveled Route 66. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Also, if you want to help support the channel, consider contributing to Patreon. $3 or more will get you a postcard once a month. Getting a lot of new subscribers on Patreon. I'd love to be able to send you a postcard. If you like enamel pins, selling enamel pins in the Etsy shop. Actually, once I get home to North Carolina, or to my house in North Carolina, I will be releasing a brand new pin. So stay tuned for that. And all that helps keep this train on the track, this boat on the water, and this dirigible in the air. Until next time, my friends, this one's in the bag.